All right, hey guys, about a year ago, I built all this cabinetry and redid my daughter's kitchen. So that's what you're seeing here. It's all Baltic birch cabinetry with walnut and black laminate. This video is not about those cabinets. In fact, I did not even make a video on making all that. But this video is about the Banquette in the corner here, Banquette bench and table. So I'm going to take you through how I built this bench. This is my own design. It's completely made out of plywood with some laminate on it in different places. So it's basically the beam, the bracket, and the top, and then that little table that we did. So let's jump in. Okay, so the first thing you'll see take shape here is this beam that gets bolted to the wall and holds those brackets for the bench. And so that beam is literally made out of all these layers of plywood. And so I had to just cut out that profile and then we stacked them. There's 3/8 holes in all of them, and the reason for that, as you'll see, I ran dowels through them to keep everything lined up and give it some strength too. So I think it was a couple sheets like this, maybe like 180 pieces or something like that. So then I'm just gluing up one side and we're sliding them down on those 3 dowels. The dowels just were an idea that came to me, just born of a need to just keep those things lined up exactly perfectly. But in the end, it gives them a lot of strength too as a good design. After we had a stack, then we'd put it in these pipe clamps on both sides to keep them just straight and tight while the glue cured. We got 2 of these things made. They need to be sanded. There's a lot of glue and they're a little rough right now. That one, camera went a little weird. That one, we just clamped up, so that'll be ready tomorrow. And so we'll pull the clamps in the morning and we'll sand them and clean them up and make them look really good. Note to self, like those are 3/8 dowels, which is a tight fit with my 3/8 bit. I could make that hole just slightly bigger than a 3/8. You know, I can make it a 64th or a 2,007 inch bigger with the CNC. The problem is, like, then you're changing from a drilling pattern to a pocket pattern, and then it's like doing this little thing, and it'll take like 5 times longer. So it's nice to have, it's nice just to be able to drill that size of hole, because then it's just a straight plunge and a lot faster. But a couple things. All right, so note to self on these dowels. I just picked up 3/8 dowels at like Lowe's or Home Depot. And they worked fine. They're tight fit, but so I think what would help that, I mean, I look online. I know you can get them. Is like a I don't know what you call it, like a grooved dowel or like a fluted dowel. You've probably seen them when you buy furniture, and so that that allows it to squeeze in there a little bit better and let the glue in there. So. All in all, this went really good, but that would be one way to kind of improve the system, is to have a dowel that's actually meant for that, for being glued. Also, I think I cut out like 180 or something of these things here, this profile. And I almost always use a compression bit. Depends on what I'm doing, but if you're not familiar with like CNCs, the bits for them, they usually either cut down or cut up, and there's a reason for that because of the finish on the front side and the back side. Anyways, my compression bit is actually like drilling down into it, and so like it was just burning every hole and it was smoking, and it went quite a while, but it finally did start a fire. So I set my CNC on fire and it was drilling these holes and then start a fire on the back side. So it is possible to do that. I just figured that out. I think what makes it even more likely to start a fire is because you got this spoiler board and this vacuum just pulling air through the board and through the MDF, because that's the method of holding the board down. Well, that creates like this a lot of airflow, which just feeds any kind of spark or ember. And so it was bound to happen. You cut, what, 300, 400, 500 holes, probably one of them's going to catch on fire. So again, that's just because the bit is not it's not fluted in the direction that it's pulling the chips out. It's like grinding them down. And so that was the problem. So I should get a bit that's actually meant for a drilling pattern, is the whole point of that story. So we'll pull the clamps off in the morning. I'm going to cut out some of the test brackets, slide them on there, see how they fit tomorrow, and we'll go from there. So we pulled the clamps off, and we had this just amazing plywood beam we had made. Did some sanding. I never did a lot of sanding. I never show much of it, but of course we had to do a lot of sanding. I don't remember. I probably cut a few different iterations of this bracket to see which one would fit tight and good. And so once we had our prototype, then it was time to cut them out. So first it just drilled some holes. So it's drilling a couple of holes in each one of these brackets, and those holes don't go all the way through. The reason for those is going to be 2-ply, so 2 layers. And so I just put these short little dowels in those holes just to line them up. So they didn't go all the way through, but it helped with the process of making them. So that's what they looked like, laminate on one side, and then those holes on one side without the laminate. So like I said, the idea was to make these 2-ply, so 2 layers of 3/4 inch thick, and so they're about 1.5 inches thick each one. And so there's some of them glued up. That's actually 3 different brackets that are 2-ply, so that's like 6 layers together. And so this is just kind of a close-up of the assembly. We'd put a thin layer of glue on them, and then you can see he's just grabbing those short little dowels, putting them in the holes, and then just using that to line them up. So it worked really well. So here's the completed beams, and we didn't spray them, we just brushed the lacquer on. I'm sure we did a few coats of lacquer, and like you've maybe seen on some of my other videos with this Baltic birch, as soon as it gets wet, as soon as you put lacquer or finish on it, just all those layers pop, and it looks really cool. Even though these will just be under the bench, they were pretty cool. So here now we're cutting out the actual bench tops, and before we cut out the perimeter, what it's doing right now is it's doing like a pocket tool path, and it's just taking out the thickness or the depth of the laminate that's going to go on top. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm leaving like a bull nose on the edge. So you kind of see here, I left one edge there that the laminate will butt up to, because I wanted wood to be on the leading edge and then the rest of it to be laminate. So to achieve that, we just had the machine take out the depth of the laminate, and then we place laminate on the rest of it. So I don't get this whole process. I think they were struggling to do this right, and so I think I put the camera down here and helped them, so I didn't really get this on tape. All right, so here's the 2 pieces. Like the brackets, the benches are also 2-ply, and so the top ply had the laminate on it like we just showed you, and you'll see that finished there in a second. And then the bottom ply, you'll see I had cut out some places to put some brackets and bolts to pull the 45 miter together. A lot like, much like you would see with a cabinet, or I'm sorry, a countertop. So here I'm just gluing it up and then putting them together, and I'll get it all lined up and clamped down. And then you can see I have a bunch of spots for countersunk screws where I'll just screw that together. So I'm just getting there. I'm putting a couple screws in it, look like, and I'm going to put a bunch of clamps on it just to make sure everything's tight. And then I'll spare you the monotony of putting all the screws in, but that's what I did then after getting all that clamped. After they were screwed together, then I took them out of the clamps and just quickly put a radius on it, a small radius, probably like 1/8 inch on the top and bottom of that. And there's the other one. So just quickly did both sides of those, and here we're getting close to it looking like something. This is the detail, that edge. You can see I have dominoes for lining it up perfectly, and then you can see the bottom layer of plywood is cut out for those bolts. And then here it's just taped off so we can put lacquer on the edge. So here we're finally on the job site. I'm just marking out where the studs are because I'm going to lag these things to the wall. So the first thing I did was just take a larger bit and just drill that out so we could countersink the heads of the lags. And then with a smaller bit, I drill all the way through them. Use the laser to set the height. I wanted to slide some of those brackets on because I was afraid that they get pinched too tight if those lags really sucked it up. So put some of those on before I really got anything else going. And then my camera dies here, so I don't get very far. So we have to jump ahead here. But here's what the bracket and beam look like finished. Looked really sharp. The down low looks rough just because I had to pull the base off the wall, and then I reinstalled that later. But it really looked good. Someone who's paying attention might notice there was a vent there in that first section. And I did come back and drill out this kind of cool pattern in the beam so the air could pass through the beam. Then all I had to do was bring the tops in and putting dominoes in it there. And then I'm kind of in front of the camera. It's not great camera work here, but what I'm doing is just gluing that together and trying to get those dominoes seated in the joint tight. So I'm getting those all pulled together. And then I just have to get underneath it and put all those bolts in and then just tighten it up good. And I had already checked, kind of did a dry fit to check that it was all going to fit against the wall well. And there was also brackets here that I'm screwing on that tied the top down to each one of those brackets. And here I'm just testing it out. There's a close-up of what the bolts look like, but like I said, they're just countertop bolts. And then here's kind of the finished product of the Banquette bench itself. So we'll just back up quick and I'll show you this table that I did to tie everything together. I wanted to make something that was just the perfect size and would just match everything. And so that adjacent kitchen that we did with the cabinets was this Colombian walnut. It was the same, and then it also was the same. It also had the same black that we used on the bench, and so we thought this would tie everything together nicely. So the table is also 2-ply of 3/4 inch plywood. So here we're cutting out the top with the laminate already on it, and then here's the bottom, which is already curved for where the legs are going to go. And so you'll see that in a minute. And then the legs are actually double-sided laminate. So it's the same Baltic birch plywood, but we have laminate on both sides of it. And so it's a real simple design. Again, it's just my own original design. I just literally drew it up and then drew it up digitally on the computer and cut it out, and it worked well. So here's the bottom. I'm getting ready to countersink a bunch of screws to laminate these 2 layers together. Just put the glue on it, and then here's both layers together. Clamping them down, and then just peppering it with screws. And then I'm going to put the legs in it right away. So you see I'm gluing in those curves. And then I've got the legs and then a couple connecting pieces. And the legs were also curved for those connecting pieces. So kind of all, once I had it designed and cut, it all went together well. Just had to glue it and clamp it. Very, very simple design. So then all that was left was just sanding some of these edges a little better. And then putting a nice finish on them, which was again lacquer. So with all the laminate on this, it was literally just doing the edges. Quick and easy. So that's pretty much it. That's the table and Banquette. Thanks for watching.